What about rotation?
Yes, rotation is a great one because I think this has a lot of common problems with too much twisting into the ribs because you think you're getting movement. So we're going to teach you a few tips here.
When we understand how the spine's put together, that rib cage is like this, and it sits on top of the stick of the lumbar spine. Vanessa's going to start with a rotational exercise, and she's going to go to her right, and I want you to watch at the base of her rib cage. All the movement's going to be concentrated there. Watch how above it doesn't get much action at all.
It's quite easy to move in this position too. It's very free.
It's a swivel hinge. It's like a lazy Susan.
Right.
So you're spinning it around on the base of the ribs. It's because the rib cage is very, very strong. It's very rigid. And it sits on top of a stick of your lumbar spine. And that very strong cage can just swivel on top of the stick of your lumbar spine. But rotation is possible joint by joint by joint by joint because you have a system of muscles in there that are actually your very deepest back muscles that are in charge of initiation of rotation. They're called your rotatories. And all of the muscles that are deep in your back and deep in your pelvis are reporting in a constant data loop to your brain about what's really going on in there. So your subconscious brain is actually quite hyper aware about your spine. I want to show this one more time.
Sure.
So we're going to be able to see movement happening through many greater joints. So all this is starting to move before she takes the swivel hinge. You do move through the hinge, but not until it's time. I'm for movement, I'm for safe movement. This is much harder to do because she has to withhold the hinge and make sure that she doesn't optimize movement through the hinge, which makes it so all of her other joints actually get a chance to contribute to the movement. Her other joints have a chance to contribute to the movement and get stronger as a result of it. And at the same time, and this is a little bit of a complex concept, she's actually extra strengthening the hinge by not optimizing movement through it. And that is very worthwhile. That makes your rotational exercise a gift that you give yourself that keeps on giving.
Absolutely. We might just show you that again just to point out, because I just know so many clients and people that I know who swivel quite a bit, and it's just, you can really spin it. So we don't want to spin it, we want to keep it controlled, and it does feel so much better. And what you'll feel, what I noticed, is a lot of the muscles above the ribs starting to wake up, and it almost has an aching sensation, but you know that something different is working, which is the point of this, and that's the safety and beauty of it.
Right.
So just to show you one more time, the wrong way is to be able to do this, not too difficult. The right way is to come through the top of the spine, rotating through there rather than the ribs.
And however far you can go, as long as you're trying to stay lifted and as long as you're trying to move one little joint at a time, you will be safe and you will be much stronger as a result of it. Another thing that I'd like to point out, many people don't understand that your ribs can move one on the next. There are muscles, if you're a meat eater, it's your baby back ribs that infiltrate between your ribs, and the fibers run at this kind of an angle and at this kind of an angle. So if you think about the 12 ribs, and 2 of them don't make the trip to the front of the body, they're called floating ribs, and they kind of stay on the back, wrapping around a little bit to your sides. If we think about 12 jars with 12 lids, each jar lid has to move a tiny little bit. And over the course of those 12 joints, you will actually get some significant movement, but not because you're turning the whole thing on the stick of the lumbar spine. You really want to feel like rib after rib after rib is being worked that way in its circumference. Now, another thing that Joseph Pilates said was he wanted you to wring out your lungs. How are you going to wring out your lungs? Let's show it one more time. when you turn the whole rib cage. Your lungs live inside your rib cage. You're not going to wring out your lungs by twisting the whole thing, just like you're not going to wring out a towel by twisting the whole thing. If we're going to wring something out, we have to secure it at one end and start to wind it up at the other. Does that make logical sense? Of course it does. Don't leave your logic at the door. Take what you know about your body and what you know about keeping your body safe with you through any door that says the word Pilates on it, any door that says the word gym on it, and it's your responsibility to be safe.
Absolutely, and we hope that we've helped you. I think that there's a lot of new information here that people really benefit from.